Help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. That was the last hymn that Henry Light, who wrote that, ever wrote. Just a few months later, he died. And I think that when he wrote that hymn, and why it resonates so much with us, is he was in that surge of helplessness. That sense that there was so little he could do, and he was looking for comfort, and a reminder that there is comfort in all of this. We have to create it. And we have to touch that reality that exists even in the middle of our suffering. That some things are still okay. And that some people still can breathe all right. And that the birds still fly. And that the clouds still are clouds floating. And yet, that sense of helplessness is so strong. So strong as we face losing people we love, as we struggle with ourselves in sickness, as we struggle having to spend so much time by ourselves, where the things that we used to do that made us feel competent and powerful and capable are gone. And it's just all this that we can't do. That we cannot keep our loved ones safe with any weapon, that we cannot prevent infections by being together, that we cannot, no matter how much disinfectant we might have, be a safe, close distance with somebody who has an infection. There is a degree of helplessness. There's a limited amount that we can do as we fight this pandemic. And that does not mean that there are not people who are fighting for everything they have and with everything they have, and that includes the people who are fighting for their lives right now. They are. And yet there are still experiences of helplessness. In this larger culture, doctors and nurses and paramedics and other healthcare providers, CNAs, aides, and the janitorial and food service staff who keep those hospitals running and those healthcare facilities operational, the phlebotomists, the people who do the lab work, the technicians, the respiratory therapists. There's so much that matters. X-ray therapists. That we need these people, and these people are used to feeling competent and capable in most situations. Eventually, at some point, they'll run out of that ability to help somebody. With the virus, that comes so much faster and for so many more people. And that sense of helplessness is so hard. So hard. So what do we do with it? What do we do when we do not feel like we can do anything? I start with a breath, as I do so often, to remind myself that I can still be here, right now, in this moment. As much struggle as it might be, my breathing has not always been easy. And at times, I've really, really had a hard time with my breath. And yet, I would turn back again and again. This is the breath. This is what I can do. The other place for those of us who believe in prayer is to pray. We might pray prayers of intercession, but the other prayer is simply the prayer of presence. The prayer of, be with me now. O gracious one, love beyond love, name unnamed, most beloved, most merciful, and most compassionate, can you be with us? May we feel your presence, knowing you are here all around us, even in the middle of this trial, the middle of this crisis and the middle of this trouble. Thank you for your presence and for your reassurance, and continue to abide with us in this moment. Amen. We could pray. We could meditate. One of the important things about feeling helpless is to come back to, what do we choose? We might have this choice and this choice, and we choose one. And that choice matters. In that moment of choice and that awareness of choice, we have freedom. So some of you have practiced with me with pranayama, yogic breathing practices, and you'll know that we practice internal holding of the breath and external holding of the breath, internal kumbhaks and external kumbhaks. And part of that is the growing awareness of the changing sensations, and when we're holding a breath out, that sense of emptiness and yet fullness. When we hold the breath in, that sense of fullness and yet that spaciousness of not moving, not breathing in that moment. Those are places where, again, then we have a point where we choose. We choose to breathe. We choose to respond to that urge of life to do, to be present, to offer what we can to this world. This is also the case now. You may have the equivalent of an internal kumbhak. You may be internally separated, held into your home, held into where you live, held into a place where you don't normally live, but you've been asked to shelter there. And where do you find the spaciousness in that? Where do you find your freedom? How do you choose? And in those choices, there's less helplessness. Helplessness is literally the overwhelming sensation that we have no choice. None. And yet, small as our choices may in fact be, many of us still do have some choice. We have a choice about breathing in peace. We have a choice about treating others with compassion. We have a choice about connecting the best ways that we can while trying to keep ourselves and other people safer. We have a choice in supporting the folks who are fighting this virus and its aftermath every day. We have lots and lots of choices. Just like we may choose to stop to breathe, we may choose to stop to pray, we may choose to stop and sing our favorite hymns or songs. We may choose to take a dance break because we need to move, and in that movement, feel our freedom and not helplessness, our agency, the opposite of helplessness, our agency and our authority to live well as we possibly can, given all the circumstances we're facing. That is all any of us can do. And that's quite a lot. Henry Light, as he was nearing the end of his life, didn't have many choices, but one of his was to continue to use his gifts. And he wrote a hymn that has remained important to so many of us over so many decades. And even if you don't like to sing, you can hum and rock your body and remember. Help of the helpless, oh, abide with me. I wish you peace and well-being.